In a sense, if you are an individual and you want to go far, successful, then I think you need to look for good mentors. Right? A mentor would really care about you as a person.
But I think this applies to pretty much everywhere.
If you have big goals, you have big dreams, you have big aspirations, then you need to have a guiding figure in your life to perhaps be inspired from.
I guess you guys are also my mentors in some ways. And maybe the other way around also.
Good afternoon, our viewers. Welcome back to Against the Grain podcast. This is already episode 5.
5. High five.
High five. Okay, so today's topic is going to be something very deep in our hearts, actually, the topic of mentorship. Many of us here have had many inspiring figures in our lives that have guided us through obstacles, difficulties, and challenges. And of course, through their presence in our life, have helped evolve our character and our presence in our own areas as well. Okay, so guys, as you know, imagine when you play a game and then you make a fatal mistake, you game over, you die, right? You can always just click restart and the game will just continue. The game will naturally forget every mistake that you made and you get to restart that challenge with the same experience but none of the mistakes, right? Yeah. But in life, there's no save point. There's no way you can do this, right? So a mentor, to me, is like a pseudo save point in your life. You get to experience the same challenges, but having already learned from their mistakes and their advice, right? And you get to take on the same challenge, but with a greater chance of success. Okay, but so I'm going to throw a very important question to you guys first. Do you guys feel that there is a difference between the term a mentor and a manager?
Should I go first? Or? I mean, if I had to think about it, what does a manager do? He or she, they task people, they delegate people, they instruct people, they schedule people. Basically, they tell you XYZ to do, you just follow and execute. Right? But I think a mentor goes way beyond that. Right? A mentor actually inspires, educates, teaches, and to perhaps point out, feedback on a certain person, whether it be their strengths, shortcomings, blind spots, whatsoever. Right? So I think it goes a lot beyond just the very surface level things of like telling you or instructing you what to do. I think that's what a manager does. But with a mentor, they don't really need to tell you what to do. They just have to teach you, coach you, give you an idea perhaps, inspire you into taking action, and then the rest will just come along. I mean, to me, right, that's where I would put the differentiating point is.
I think a wise young person once said, right, successful companies love good managers, but successful people, right, love great mentors. Because a manager's job, right, is to do everything that he can to help the company succeed, right? Whether you hit your KPIs, whether all the operations are in place, whether you have any kind of queries regarding the job or whatever it is, he can answer, help you do your role better and whatnot, right? So that's more on a operational, like, company perspective. But a mentor is, as you said, right, a more individual kind of relationship between a mentor and a mentee. Right, a mentor would really care about you as a person, right? Not really just about what you do for the company, but who you are, who you can become, right? You as an individual and human being, your evolution in that sense. They can be the same person, right? A good manager can be a good mentor and vice versa. In a sense, if you are an individual and you want to go far, successful, right, then I think you need to look for good mentors, not good managers. However, if you're running a company, if you're like the boss or the CEO or whatever it is, then you definitely need good managers in your company, right, to make sure that everything runs properly and then you still can, the company still can succeed on their own revenue goals and whatnot. Right?
And just chime in one more note of what Rup said. I think mentors go that extra step. A lot of it is just pertaining to purely work, and it doesn't ever extend beyond there. I think in terms of your personal life as well, right, to teach you to become a better person, right, to stretch you into someone that you could be but are not there yet, right? And I think it's all these intangibles of what a mentor does that separates a mentor from someone who just tells you like, okay, it's just a strategy or like go and do this XYZ. Yeah, but what do you think yourself, since you posed us that question?
Actually, I do agree with you. So there are many mentors who are very big beacons of wisdom, right? They offer a lot of knowledge and perspective to help us navigate both personal challenges, career challenges. But I think what really sets a good mentor from a great mentor
is their ability to give you a certain amount of critical feedback in a manner that you can accept and you can see immediately that there is a need for change. Most mentors, they see their roles as, I'm a teacher. I'm just going to teach you what to do. You follow what I'm going to say, and then my job is done. But great mentors have always had the ability to display the talent for being able to extract out certain information from their mentees, repurposing the information back in a different perspective for them to understand, and then of course lay out the action steps, right, without not telling it straight to your face, oh, you need to, hey Don, this you should do, this you should do that. But they could in fact be asking you, what do you think you could have done better in this situation? I've always felt like there's a strong distinction here from the mentors that have really made a huge impact on me through this aspect lah.
I think we always talk about, I mean, throughout the last few episodes of the podcast, especially with Kev here, the previous episode, I think the topic of mentorship has come up a couple of times, right? When we give advice to those listening or those watching, finding a great mentor, that could help you in your life and your career is always one of the things that pops up, right? But I think before we go into like how that helps you or what a good mentor is, right? I think I want to preface that by saying that you need to be a good and deserving mentee.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fair.
fair.
First
Fair.
and foremost,
It's
right?
a two-way street,
Yeah,
right?
before you talk about, because the next question will be, okay, having a mentor is great. So, how do I find a mentor? Blah blah blah. But the question is, these people are at the top of the game, right? Their time is money, right? Probably worth a lot, right? Why should they spend that time mentoring you? Right?
I mean,
so you gotta deserve it, right?
It's just like that saying, right? You can bring a horse to the well, but you cannot force it to drink. It has to want to drink also. And a good mentor can have everything in the world to teach, and he can willingly want to teach you. But firstly, are you ready to accept it? And even if you are do you have the, I guess, substance and capability to, right? Because advice is typically given freely, but the execution of it is where there is a price to pay. Just a very random example, but I'm sure you guys have seen videos before of famous people or celebrities or politicians going up to give speeches at graduation ceremonies in the US. All the time they are sharing advice, and in a lot of ways they are mentor figures themselves. All of this advice heard by thousands of different people. Somehow only a few are typically able to really internalize it and to execute it also. But I think this applies to pretty much everywhere. You could even receive advice on social media, I'm sure, right now if you were to scroll for even 3 to 5 minutes. But whether you are able to take it in and then make something of it, I think that's the difference. And I guess that's where the mentee's role or job is equally, if not maybe even more important than the mentor. Would you guys agree with that?
I mean, definitely, right? Like I said, so you cited the example of the horse. If your rider brings it to the well, but the horse doesn't drink it, or it could even be worse. The horse expects the rider to feed them the water directly from the well. There are many layers and attributes of mentees that can, in fact, even deter mentors from pursuing mentorship. Right? They say, "Wow, oh my God, like, this is the kind of mentees that are around nowadays. This is the quality I'm gonna get." Then I may not even want to invest further in such an endeavor, lah.
Then I guess since like at some point we had mentors ourselves, right? And also,
I guess we still do have.
yeah, of course we do, right? And also,
Very expensive ones.
we are also privileged. We're also privileged to be in the mentor position, lah, right? To others, the new people that are coming in and whatnot, whoever is in your team and maybe the people in your life as well. Just want to ask you guys, right? What are the key characteristics, right, that will make someone a good and deserving mentee that you'll be willing to go all out 100% and spend all that time and effort and resources to really bring them to success?
Well, I think the first and most immediate thing that stands out to me is how quickly are they to execute.
Agree?
Right, because again, I mean, like my previous point, you can give all the advice in the world, but for most people who listen to it, oftentimes maybe they will execute it, but when? And if they do, I mean, if you only choose to do it after an extended period of time, then, I mean, is it really going to be that effective for you? I don't know, right? But I feel for people who are really serious about change, growth, and bringing themselves up to the next levels, these are people who typically, the moment they get the feedback or advice, they change and execute almost immediately, right? And it's very obvious to see. So in terms of characteristics or traits, I would say that might, to me, be the number one out of everything. Yeah. And another that's off the top of my head as well are people who are able to take in feedback. People who don't get defensive, right, when you want to share with them something. I could have the best communication skills in the world and try to frame and ease you into receiving feedback. Right, but at the end of the day, if your mindset is always that like, oh, but what I'm doing is not wrong, right? It's not my fault, it's not my responsibility, etc. If your way of thinking is not one of, I guess, ownership, and you're always looking for things to partition that responsibility onto, then I'm not sure if, it's gonna work out. Yeah. So the ability to take in feedback, not be defensive, I think that's another one for me also.
I think a good point also for me is that I feel like because everyone's different, right? I mean, even though we may be doing the same thing for maybe the same amount of years, but inherently our personalities are different and how you've gone about the business and your lives have been different, right? So I think one key point would be how good a fit between the mentor and mentees as well,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes some people respond better to certain styles of mentorship, right? Some people respond horribly, right, to other contrasting styles, right? So I think in my experience, sometimes when I have a mentee that requires a certain way of mentorship that I know that it's not my strength or I can't deliver that for them, then I know that it's probably a bad fit in terms of a mentor-mentee relationship. And I think you can see this like quite quickly, quite
Yep.
early on. Right. That's why for me, I nowadays I just look for people who I can just be myself, and then I can just give them the mentorship in a way that I feel will work best for us.
But
Right.
let me play the devil's advocate
Yeah,
for a
sure.
moment, right? What if I were to say that, like, but if you are a great leader or mentor, right, wouldn't you be able to cater to different types of personalities or people, or what, instead of having the skill set to do extremely well in, let's say, for one segment or demographic of people, but not be able to cater to the rest? Because ultimately, as we continue to build our teams, right, we work with a whole bunch of contrasting personalities and people as well. It's extremely unlikely that we will only be able to work with people that suit our personal styles as well, right? I think it's a good skill to have to work with different styles. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I would kind of disagree with that because, okay, to me, right, I think if you want to be a good mentor, you must first learn how to be a good student. Because some of the best mentors I know are very hungry for learning new experiences themselves because they inherently believe that if I want to be the best mentor, right, then whatever I know right now can never be enough. I have to continuously evolve to be able to meet to adapt and to meet the needs of the future generations as well. So as I think coming back to your question as well, I think for me one of the key attributes I look for in a mentee also, right, is that hunger to want to learn, to be a sponge, and to just absorb as much as possible, and they have this innate desire to really be the better version of themselves. The other point also is that this area of like open-mindedness as well, right? What if you're really if a mentee and coming to a mentor to seek advice, seek counsel, but you are closed off to everything that you are hearing, then are you here to be mentor? Or are you just here to get some form of like validation? There's some kind of insecurity inside that you are just trying to get out of your mentor instead. So that the open-mindedness, of course, we have seen theories of this known as like conscious incompetence, like you are mentally aware that this is your 缺点 or your flaw, and you're working actively to fix that. But there's also areas where you are unconsciously incompetent, like you don't even know that. Perhaps you're a stubborn person, perhaps area that you are not aware of. And I think these are not small things, but can have very big hindrances to the mentor-mentee journey, where the mentor is actively trying to help you correct those mistakes, but the mentee is in a way there's a blind spot right there. The mentee cannot see that this attribute of them is hindering them from getting the information that they need. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I agree. And I think on your point, right, Don, like just want to clarify. By personality, I don't mean like are you an extrovert or are you introvert, that kind of thing. So for example, you mentioned the part about like open-mindedness, proactiveness in execution, things like that. I think this is what I'm talking about. Like if let's say someone is a very earnest person, but they take like quite long to execute, or they need to deliberate, procrastinate a bit, then execute, right? Then I think that's not my style. So more about that than like, you know, are you extrovert, introvert, are you whatever your MBTI? It's not about that lah to me. It's more like are these characteristics, because there are mentors that I know who are fantastic mentors, right? For people who take longer, like they can, you know, mentor you for like 20 years, and then they finally like break through 20 years later, and I respect that, because I know I cannot. 20 years later, I don't even know whether I'm still alive lah. So I mean, I don't think I can do that, right? So that's what I'm talking about in terms of the differential in the different types of mentor-mentee relationships.
But on the flip side of that, right? So let's say on now as us as the mentees, then what do you think we should look out for in the mentor?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so where do we even, where do I even start? You know,
Because so we said, right, as a mentee, we should be open, we should be a sponge, we should take active actions, we should be a good fit for our
I guess
mentor as well.
the first thing that I can think of is it has to be someone who I would be very, like, 100% willing to take in any advice from, any feedback from. Like someone who I respect so much, where they can tell me 1,000 things bad about myself and I'll be willing to accept it as it is and to change it all. Like, if on any level I feel that this person is not, like, you know, in a way, like, worth listening to, maybe because I don't respect them enough, maybe they haven't accomplished enough, or I don't think that their words hold that much weight, then I don't think I'll be able to truly be able to bring myself to buy into what they're saying, even if it makes sense. Right, it could make 100% sense. It could be the most well-meaning and constructive feedback, and it will still be hard for me to take in. Right, but if this person has beyond any reasonable doubt done and accomplished so much, right, people respect them, I respect them, I think, you know, that is the first step for me, right? And then I'll be able to buy into what kind of mentorship or teachings they might have for me.
What about you, Rup?
Well, I mean, I think that's very important lah. I mean, you cannot follow someone you don't respect, right?
Yeah.
I feel, right, that's a prerequisite of even looking for mentorship in the first place. For me personally, in my own journey, I think great mentors to me, right, have always been people that possess a skill or the traits that I don't yet have, or maybe I'm not that good at, but I really want to learn. Right, so I think their perspective on life, the career, business, relationships, whatever, are all meaningful, right? Because, you know, they have the experience in those areas, and perhaps when as to continue from your point, when you look at them, maybe they are where you want to be. So because of that, then you feel that okay, obviously they're there because they have some things that I don't, right? And I want to learn those things from them. But as you said, of course, they must first possess those things, right? If not, then it's impossible to do so,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's my main criteria in looking for a mentor.
I think for me also, like, I've always tried to practice this theory of mine called creative mentorship. How much can you really learn in a classroom setting all the way, right? So imagine you're meeting a mentor, you're often going to meet them perhaps at their office or nearby coffee shop. You tell them your problems, you have a chit chat over coffee. You take a notebook down, you jot down maybe 5 to 10 new learning points. That how much can you really embody all this until you've actually applied them in real life? So I think, and I have had the privilege of this, have mentors who really take all these theorems and bring it out of classroom, right? So let's say I have mentors who brought me into professional networking places. They try to expand my professional circle, showing me how other professionals they network. So you can be a professional gentleman, right? But have you ever heard of being a professional, right? So there are professionals who act and behave a certain way that is, of course, inspiring also to others in the workplace. And then you can see that these mentors, they really understand their roles very well. They're not here to just guide and teach you, but they are a major catalyst for your change, both in your personal and professional development. So I think those mentors who can understand this and they take all this out of classroom lessons, right? You start to see the mentees learning much quickly, right? Because of all the practical lessons. And they do, I think they kind of enjoy all these out of norm opportunities as well.
I feel like what's also important that I think we haven't mentioned yet, right, is that I think it's best if the mentor has a stake in whether the mentee succeeds or not, right? Because I mean, of course, we believe that, you know, everyone should be of open heart and be generous to mentor anybody, no matter what, and, you know, and do it without any gain whatsoever, right? But I think if let's say the relationship is built upon a stake, right, then both parties are invested, right? I'm also invested as a mentor to do extremely well for my mentee because his success is my success. And when that happens, right, then the relationship will then go to another level. I feel then just, I mean, of course, we mentor people, in the business, right, which we do, I know. But I'm sure you guys also at some point mentor people like maybe not in your team or not in the industry or whatever it is like outside. I believe that when that happens, right, the level of mentorship is different. Because when there's no stake, right?
It's gonna be more surface lah in a way.
Yes, because you're not really super.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't be super invested
Yeah.
in the person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's not like you don't want to be.
Yeah,
but
it's not that. Yeah.
It's just that because of how things are, it naturally
You can't
wouldn't.
lah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you just can't.
Yeah, you can't, exactly.
And there's no reason to be further invested in it also. Right?
Yeah, correct lah.
Yeah.
So I think very important is a stake, right? And obviously as a mentee, right, find a mentor who like, okay, I hate to use the word like really cares about you, but more of like they have your best interests,
It's a vested interest.
but also the best vested interest, your best vested interest at heart, right? But that doesn't mean that if like they don't scold you or if you don't deliver they sayang you. I don't think it's that. It's more of like if I really care about somebody, then I will take the effort to straight up directly tell them the feedback and what I feel that can be improved. If I don't care or I really can't give a shit, right, then I rather not say because it's a waste of my time and my energy, right? So I think care comes in different ways, but you should find a mentor that would have vested your best vested interests at heart lah.
Actually, a lot of this conversation right now, is kind of on the assumption that you either already have a mentor or are looking out for one, right? But actually, I think majority of people, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think majority of people out there don't really have exactly people they would consider as mentors in their lives. I mean, of course, we have role models, right? People, let's say like our parents, our teachers growing up, or coaches, etc., right? But I think especially when you move out of the schooling part of your life, right, you go on to the workplace. I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong, but I would think that most people don't exactly have people they would consider mentors.
Do you
Right,
think
so-
do you think there's a reason because that they don't actively seek out a mentor?
It could be. I think it very well could be, right? And even, I mean, I think if we were to just apply it to our own industry or even within our own team, I do think that there are quite a lot of people without, actual like mentor figures outside of the team, and neither are they really actively seeking one out as well. I mean, what do you guys make of that? And do you think it's necessary, important or even necessary, to
Okay, I mean, I don't
have
think it's
mentor
like
figures?
necessary lah. But if you want to go as far as you can go in life, then I think it's necessary. But if you just want to be comfortable, succeed to a certain extent, I don't think it's necessary. But to answer your question more directly, right, I feel that it's because of a couple of reasons. First, it could be the fact that they have no real need to actively seek a mentor, right? Because it's not necessary to them. Maybe I earn 4K per month for the rest of my life. I have work-life balance and that's it lah. For what I need a mentor? Mentor to teach me to have more time to chill at home. There's no such thing, right? So I don't need that. Or it could also be what I realized, right, upon further reflection, is that they don't have access to opportunities, right, where they can even meet or consider a mentor or mentorship. What do I mean? So for most people, right, I'm sure you heard of the phrase, birds of the same feather flock together.
Yeah.
So let's say in your group of friends, right, everyone's most likely about the same level one. The things you talk about, the conversations you have, maybe even like income level. So everybody is sort of same. So you're very good friends, right? So when everyone's the same, right, no one can be a mentor, because we are all same level, right? But they don't know anybody else outside of that or higher level than them to even give them the perspective. Wow, this guy, I like what he said. I want to be like him. I should learn from him. They can't even have this eureka moment because it doesn't exist for them. It's not something that they would even come across anywhere in their lives, right? So that's why I think it's very important to always be in a position or put yourself in positions to meet people who are better than you, right? People who are further along the line, more successful. Even if you're comfortable with your success and your friends, then of course stems from the fact whether you want to go further. If yes, then you need to seek out those people, and then you hear them speak, right? And then that's where you feel like, oh my God, I want to know more. I want to learn more from this person. Because it's the same when I get a new associate that comes in. I mean, you also know you're just fresh from school, young, mid-20s, early 20s kind of person. I'm sure at some point when they sit in front of you and you say all the things to them, right? You look at, then their mind is like blown. Like how you can think like that one. Or people can are wired this way.
Yeah.
Like, wow, how come all of you in this organization see things this way? Then they are shocked, right? Surprised, right? Then they're like, oh my, I want to be like them. Then that's where, okay, then I want you to be my mentor, right? But if there's no situation for that, then it's very hard for anyone to, find a mentor. Just what, you wait at the traffic light, then you stand beside him, then you just nice your talk, then he become your mentor, man. No such thing, ma. Right? So I think that's the biggest problem, the biggest obstacle between somebody, being able to get a mentor or find a good mentor or not. I mean, in my perspective.
I mean, it's a good point. Very controversial topic, right? Maybe are all mentorships really beneficial and relevant? I've also heard cases before of people having very outdated and irrelevant mentors also, giving advices that is, of course, useful 30 years ago, perhaps. But in the current dynamic workplace, the same advice could actually be a detrimental aspect to your career. Maybe my next question to you guys also is, at anyone's point of time in their career, right, it is very natural to experience some form of setbacks or failure. So in the mentor's capacity, are there any ways you guys feel the mentor can help these mentees, right, navigate through these failures as well?
The path to success is filled with failure, right? So I think, I can't speak for every single person or mentor in the world, right? But my perspective is that if I were to mentor somebody, I will get them comfortable with the aspect of failure, right? Failure is only scary because you see it as game over. But if you don't see it as game over, but you see it as something that you need to do and you need to go through to then eventually get to the next level, then actually it's not really that negative or scary in that aspect. And once you have that perspective, right, then they will take failure differently. Actually, maybe some people are excited to fail.
Yeah.
Right, and then that solves a lot of the problems. Like, are you sad? Like, are you down? Or you need to rah-rah them a bit. I think that solves all of that. Right.
Maybe I'll answer the question from the lens of a mentee lah. Right. Since you already shared the other POV, I have multiple people I would consider as mentor figures lah. Right. In all the different stages of my life. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned from them, where when it comes to failure, is that it will only ever be a failure if you let it remain so. Right? If you pick yourself back up again, however long it takes, however difficult it is, and you go on, right? I mean, you don't even necessarily need to succeed even, but I think it's just having that courage to pick yourself up again and again and again, time after time, with that, holding out that hope and belief that one day things are gonna get better. Rather, I think that's how you process and look at failure from a different lens and perspective, from something bad to something good, right? And I think it's because I was internalized with all of these teachings and lessons for, quite a while already by now, which is why I was able to overcome a recent defeat that I had also. So, and I think maybe some of you might have seen from my story. So, 2 days ago, I went to the gym. Until I got there, I had no idea what I really wanted to do. But then in the end, I decided to go on a run. And then I was like, hey, why not I try lah, right? My mentality was try. Why not I try to run a 2.4 under 10, right? Because the past few instances, I was like around 10, 15, 10, 20-ish. So it's not like that far, but I knew I had some capacity to do it. But around the 1.5 to 1.6 km mark, I was so fucking shacked already. Like I was running at like almost about 4 minutes per km lah, that kind of pace, right? And I didn't feel like I was in the best frame of mind. I slept late. I was pretty fatigued, and I had like all sorts of reasons lah, or excuses. Eventually, I just stopped. I just stepped off the treadmill at around the 1.5 to 1.6 km mark, which I think is not like me, because I would describe myself as someone who will at least finish what he started, even if I may not succeed with the actual goal, but I will at least complete the process of it lah. Right, so that moment kept bugging me for the entire day, and truthfully, the moment I got off the treadmill, right, I felt like a fucking fraud. I mean, honestly, I was quite ashamed of myself. Like, why couldn't I hold out that extra 1 or 2 minutes? Right, it was like, I felt like a failure lah, basically. So in the end, I was like, no, I have to accomplish this. I have to put this past me. Otherwise, I will never be able to let it go. I think how I even am able to have such a way of thinking or mindset is because of all the teachings I was internalized with over the past couple of years, right? Through my own experiences and through a lot of great mentorship as well, the people that I surround myself with. And I think perhaps if I wasn't exposed to all of these in the past, if I wasn't taught all of this by my mentors as well, I don't think I would have even thought of like, hey, let me go and give it a go again. So in the end, this morning I went again, and I was just thinking on the walk to the gym, I was like, fuck, am I gonna be able to do it or not? I was just thinking like, okay, now I have the resolve, right? Now I have the will, the determination, but ultimately, can my body and mind hold up also when it comes to crunch time? It came out very close to the wire, right? Same thing, around the 1.6 km mark, I felt completely spent already, right? But I knew I had still like 800 meters left to go. In the end, like, I was just like, fuck it lah. I bit the bullet and I just pressed the speed and go up. Because otherwise, I think I might not have made it already. In the end, I managed to do it, right? Thankfully, 9:56, I think, just a few seconds shy of what I was going for. And all in all, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a morning exercise. It's not like, doesn't really seem like a very big deal, right? But I think how you approach one thing in life is probably how you approach most, if not all, things in life as well. And if not for the mentorship I was given, if not for the teachings that were passed down to me from a long time ago, I don't think I would have been able to do what I did. And I'm not just saying for, how fast I ran, but also all the other areas of my life today. So I think with profound mentorship, it really lasts a generational amount of time. And, I'm sure you guys have similar experiences of yourselves as well.
It's so interesting that you say that, right? And I think when I was listening to your story, because I did see your Insta stories before this, right? So when I was reading what you wrote, then I realized that, okay, obviously we are here because we are aligned, right, in how we think and how we do the business. So I'm not surprised, right? But if you think back one step, right, actually the fact that I'm not surprised is it would be surprising to maybe like the common person. Because some people will be like, this is quite special, like how you think this way with your resolve and the fact that you go back. So like wow, but to me it's okay. But that's like every day.
Yeah,
for
I mean
us.
to us it's
in a way,
like
right?
a norm in a way.
Yeah, and that is not something that is distilled overnight, right? By state mentors, right? I think we learned from all of them, different people at different times, right? All come together in a whole journey, and from there we build this perspective on life. So I think one thing is that not to just have one mentor. No one just has one mentor in life, right? Different mentors have offered different things across your lifetime. Take the best things, you put it together, and what works for you, and I think that really builds the whole perspective lah. And just add, because ironically, right, I took IPPT like yesterday, and as you all know, I mean, quite busy lah. So not proud to admit, but I honestly didn't really train for it. Most of the time, I would try to at least run a few times, 2.4 the week or two before the real IPPT. But I was so swamped because I just came back from overseas and then going for reservice soon, so I had to clear some work stuff. So I only did one session on a treadmill. I only ran 1.6 km at like a 13 14 minute kind of pace, just to acclimatize my body
up.
warm my body up with like 2-3 days before IPPT, right? Okay, but when I did the push up and the sit ups, right, then because we put the tag into the machine, then they tell you how much you need to run for whatever points, right? So I put it inside. Then I did reasonably well. So, and of course I 1 year older, so my CAT increased, right? So to pass, I just needed to run 15 minutes, 50 plus minutes, which is okay lah. You close your eyes also can do, right? To pass with incentive, right, I needed to run 13 minutes something.
So it's still doable.
Which is still very doable for me lah. I know myself. But silver, right, I need to run below 11:40. So the
Wow.
gap between silver and platinum is big. And if I were to gauge my ability lah, 1 year ago with the practice and the training, right, I ran 12 minute 30 second during the IPPT last year. So I'm thinking, okay lah, any normal person, right, would say, okay, likelihood realistically, we just go for pass with incentive, and I can easily run 13 minutes, right? So I just chill, do a relaxed kind of thing, and I will still do my passive incentive lah. Then I'm thinking, wow, but if I tell people this, right, I feel like I'm a loser. Or if people know this thought process in my mind, right, I think right, you will kind of copy me. So I think, hey, fuck it, whatever it is, right, I'm here. I will just run my best. So obviously, I almost died. Okay, but I in the end I didn't make it. I ran 11:48 lah. So
honestly, that's pretty close lah.
yeah, I was 8 seconds to silver, right? But similar to what you mentioned, right? I think it's because we have been ingrained with all these philosophies and all these perspectives that our mentors have helped to build innately for us, and also the environment, all that, right?
It's not really something you have to think about, like, oh, I'm going
Yeah.
to think this way, right? It's
Yeah.
just second nature. It's just part of who you are already.
And I guess also an environment, like the environment can be a mentor.
That's also true.
Because I
yeah,
feel,
yeah.
right, like, if I tell you all, right, you all will say like, wow, why you think this way?
We will shame you.
Yeah, you will find some way to make me feel bad
We'll
about
shame
it.
you to action.
But that's not internal, only internal mah, right? That's also the validation from the people around in my environment.
Right.
So actually, your mentor doesn't need to be one individual or one person. I believe, right, an environment can be a fantastic mentor.
It's an entity lah, right?
Yeah. So I think we shouldn't be, restricted by
Mm.
what a mentor is, right? It can be even something as intangible as an
I think
environment.
that's a very
that you-
fair point. lah.
So
Yeah.
all these are like very strong stories of resilience as well. So I think just a tip for the viewers also. There is, I'm sure you guys know that there is no hero movie or hero story. The hero just wins constantly throughout the whole movie, and then the movie ends, right?
That'd be a very boring movie.
Yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
will watch.
There is no joy in watching that. Also, what are the movies that actually play a huge impact in our heart? Even stories like Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio, that's his name, right? Yeah, he practically had to fail about 80% of the movie before he finally pulled the trigger. And then, okay, I should not spoil the ending of the movie for people who have not watched it yet. But essentially, movies, a hero's journey, you will always almost lose like 70-80% of the time. But that is that portion where you are forged, where you learn great lessons on hardship. What kind of person you become during those hardship? What kind of person appears before you and then pulls you towards that positive change that you're supposed to have. Mentors like this, where they share stories about like what you guys share about the various exercise stories. These are the stories that next time if I'm running and if I jump off halfway as well, I'll be like thinking, oh, I'm not exactly like, okay, maybe I could be half a loser, but then that happened to Don as well. But now I know Don also hopped back on the treadmill and he completed it, right? So despite the small setback, but that didn't like stop him from ending his challenge, and he actually went on all the way to complete it as well. There's this like empowerment in knowing also that your mentors are not gods, right? But there is the more vulnerable your mentors are, somehow you feel more the stronger connection to them, and you feel that their stories actually have a greater alignment to what you are as well. Beyond just resilience, right? Are there any other skills you guys feel that mentors should definitely impart to their mentees, or lessons even?
Actually, it just feels like life perspective. It's not a skill. But how you think about certain situations, right, is like the most important. Like, doesn't matter what skill, what trade, what profession you're in, right? Like, I mean, overcoming failure was one. How you deal with setbacks is another, right? Or like, what we always talk about, back home in the organization that we're from, like things like extreme ownership, where if anything were to happen to you, right, it's because of all the actions and decisions that you made before that. Like, take full ownership and full blame for all the bad and good things that happen to you. But when you tell this to a normal person, they'll be like, but I'm just unlucky, what?
I say it's not really my fault.
Yeah, it's not really my fault. It's not my fault that it was a jam. Not my fault that it rained and then I had to take another way and that's why I'm late, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, you could have left a bit earlier. You could have not, taken a car, bus, MRT. You could have taken something else. You could have camped overnight at the location and still be on. I mean, ultimately, everything is based on the individual's choice, right? So when you realize that, then actually that solves a lot of issues, or that's like the root of a lot of the problems, right? So a good mentor will be able to share with you these perspectives, convince you that this is the way that you should approach life, and then make you want to do it, lah, right? I think that's basically the most important to me, lah, in mentorship is perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess one perspective, lah, right? That is important to me that I think mentors should be able to do is to basically help people to think bigger. I think a mentor's job is to be able to expand the minds and the abilities of others where they may not even be able to see themselves. You may not be able to see the how yet. You may not know whether and none of us can know for sure, right? Whether this is gonna work out for you or not. But that's exactly what my job is, right? To be able to see something for you, see something in you that you may not be able to see yourself yet. But if you are willing, hand in hand, right, then we'll be able to work through it together, lah, and to eventually bring you there, right? So I think it's giving people that hope that you can do so much more, so much bigger, and to not be limited by what you can only see right now. Yeah, so that's perspective also, like what Rup said.
And I guess like in closing, right, more of like how, like if you were to someone to come and ask you, okay, then how do I approach somebody to ask for mentorship, or how do I put myself into a position where I can meet these mentors or a person that could be my mentor, or maybe how do I even find an environment that could then extend that level of mentorship to me, right? What would the advice be from you guys?
I think it's as simple as taking the initiative to reach out. And like sometimes people tend to overthink things a lot. So for example, if maybe I want to get a job in like Google or Apple or what, right? Then I would think of like how can I'll go for more like networking sessions, or how can I pad my resume and whatever in such a way whereby it will give me the highest shot of getting there or what. I mean, it could be all those, but sometimes it can also be as simple as just reaching out to someone there, asking for a conversation, a coffee, whatever, right? Taking the first step to know who are the people there. And maybe the rest of the story will just unfold itself. I think, that's what I think, right? If you take the first step to reach out, it might end in failure. Maybe the person will say no, maybe the person will reply you. But what would it have cost you? A few minutes of your time.
I think if I could chime into that also, I would suggest one step before that. Because if let's say so my step would be, of course, for mentees, right? Really take the time and effort to understand and be very self-aware first on what you want, not just professionally but as a person as well. Because if let's play this out, if I go to both of your mentors, let's say I have a mentee, I'm coming to you, okay, Ruben, hi, I know you are so and so position in so and so company. I would like to seek your mentorship. Then maybe Ruben replies me, oh, Leonard, thanks for reaching out. I'll be happy to. In what areas of mentorship do you feel I can best help you in? And I say, I don't know. Then they say, oh, okay. Then how best can we proceed? I don't know. Then say I pose a question to Don as well. Then let's say I go through 5 of these kind of mentors, and then I realize the real problem is not that I cannot find a good mentor for myself. I don't even know myself well enough to know what kind of mentor could potentially be a right fit for me, right? So even in areas of mentorship, I think one great skill that mentors can also pass down to their mentees, right, is the ability to look at a problem and to critically challenge it, right? So not just look at the problem, oh, how would you solve it? But go one step further. How have people been solving it before? How are people solving it now? And is there any way that I can potentially solve it in the future, so that there could be a stronger sustainability, lah. So if you can do this, then you are also empowering the mentee to tackle challenges more confidently. And there's always these extra creative juices that may eventually help form new solutions in the future, long after the mentorship ends. So I think that's why also the mentee, if you can critically assess yourself, like really be like radically honest, right? What we talk about, radically honest with yourself, explore what are your strengths, your weaknesses, and it's probably been shown to you in some way before, one way before. So let's say even in secondary school, you have a lot of leadership roles, you like to do community building. These are hints or evidence that these are areas that you might want to seek more mentorship in. right? These are areas that you have more development in as well. It makes your own process more efficient, right? Then you can kind of shortlist who are the mentors that potentially could be a good fit for you. And then imagine now if I explore the same conversation, say, hey, Ruben, I know you are a director at Odyssey, long-standing awards, recognition, everything. I would like to know how I can be a good advisor to the affluent, to the high net worth, such as yourself, right? Do you think you could mentor me in that aspect? Then now this opens up a lot of, so there's this term called threading, right? So you are giving the mentor also various new avenues to help you in. So even through this conversation, Ruben can be like, oh, then now he knows how he can help me.
I guess also just to add on to what both of you have said, I mean, other than taking the initiative and also knowing what to be mentored in, right? Which is what essentially Leonard said. I think most importantly, you ask yourself whether is it necessary for yourself lah, as an individual.
Yeah lah. I mean, otherwise, if you want to have a mentor for the sake of just having a mentor, then you know might be wasting your own time and the mentor's time also.
Yeah, because I think I've met quite a few people who have come through our doors who said, oh, I want to do what you guys do. I want to earn the money that you guys earn, right? I want to achieve all the accolades. Then I say, oh, okay, then what are you willing to do to get there? Or why do you want to do it? Then they have no real answer. And then these people, right, once you carry on longer, then you realize that, oh, then these are the people who don't deliver, don't execute. Because they have no real reason, ma. Right? So I think before anything, you need to know the answer.
Yeah,
for yourself as an individual lah.
I mean, a small tip on this. So business owners, we're already doing this. Your own business is your business. But for most corporate staff, you don't see your career as a business. You see your career just as a pathway to get money, I guess. Yeah. But if you imagine that even in corporate, if you treat your career as the perspective of an expanding your business, right? Then it only makes natural sense that you have a certain amount of mentors to guide you through and to navigate the challenges in the business as well. So I think that also helps you to become more centered as a person. And the mentor can also help you to show you the forest of all the trees that we are looking at. And it's essentially very paramount that if you have goals, you have big dreams, you have big aspirations, then you need to have a guiding figure in your life to perhaps be inspired from, to emulate, and to draw a lot of strength to push through these battles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that concludes our chat on mentorship today. Right. I think I learned a lot from you guys also over the years. So in a way, I guess you guys are also my mentors. And maybe the other way around also. No, I mean, that's the truth, right?
It's just funny to say it.
Yeah, but I do think that in a lot of ways we have learned a lot just through working with each other and from each other. It's always nice to be able to learn from the people around you.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So this wraps up episode 5.
Right. Thanks for listening.
Tuning in. Yeah.
Right. See you next episode.
Yeah. So be on the lookout. The universe probably has put people in your life to help you become the person that you can be, the person that you are supposed to be as well. After this episode, pay more attention to them. Or in fact, if you feel that you are looking for mentors, then you feel that the three of us can be said mentors as well, drop us a comment, drop us a DM, and then we, of course, assess yourself first. Then we'll have a chat. Okay. See you guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.